Right. Yesterday, we have created a project called Score Tracker, and we are able to see how to connect our physical device to Android Studio so that we can run the applications directly on top of our device, right? So let me ask you a question before we begin any further. Let's just discuss one thing. How many of you have successfully set up Android Studio, and how many of you have successfully connected the device, the physical device to Android Studio? If you have done it, please raise your hands. Let me know my audience. Let me see how many of you have done it already. Okay, Sarfraz Khan has done it. Great, great job. Only one person has done it. Yasin Maldar also has done it. Cool. Hemant also has done it. Ishika done it. Great. I have a great set of audience. No problem. Ashish says that he only have installed Android Studio, but he haven't connected physical device yet, it seems. It's absolutely fine. If you remember the process, it is good. If you do not remember how to connect a physical device to Android Studio, you can search it on Google, connecting a physical device to Android Studio. Search for this and you will get the first link from the official website. You can read through and connect your hardware or physical device to Android Studio. Right? I'm sharing this link in the chat. Please have a look at it. Please take a look at it. Right. You can also connect your device through Wi-Fi. That is also possible. We will discuss about this option in the upcoming sessions. Anyway, we will be discussing this topic as well. Now, moving on, let us talk about how to create an emulator. An emulator is nothing but a virtual device. It is in short called as AVD. AVD stands for Android Virtual Device. We shall see the process of creating a virtual device within our Android Studio. Caution, make sure that you are having enough size of RAM and enough processing capabilities if you want to use emulator. All right. If you want to use emulator, make sure you have good configuration on the system. Otherwise, it would be very difficult, right? So how do we create an emulator? You can jump into tools and hit on device manager. Okay. You can jump into tools and hit on device manager. Otherwise, you can also click on this option which says device manager. The option is available places. I repeat, this is what you can click, or otherwise you can go to tools and hit on device manager. So let me go to this device manager and I see there is a device already created for me. I can simply hit on this run button so that my device will load up here. My device is loading up. Right. See, my device is loading up. It simply looks like a original a physical device, isn't it? It has got front camera as well. However, it will not work um, as a real camera. So everything is a simulation. Okay. So then you can select your device of your interest. If you want to run it on physical device, you select the device from this drop down, or you can choose the emulator to run your applications directly on top of the emulator. Okay. Either of the things, it is fine. You can debug your application even by connecting your device, your physical device to Android Studio, or you can create your own virtual device inside Android Studio and use it. Either of the ways, the process is one and the same. The debugging process will not change. Right. So if you want to create a new emulator, what is the process? You just have to jump into Device Manager or by clicking on this icon or the option clicking on the ball or by going to Tools and selecting Device Manager. There are three ways. Now, if you want to create a virtual device, you hit on Create button, then select your device category. I would like to create an emulator for phone. That's why I've chosen phone here. Now you can choose any device. I choose Pixel 4, hit on next, and you can download any of these operating systems. Any of these operating systems can be downloaded. Okay. A system image has to be selected to actually run the software on the emulator. If you want to have the latest version downloaded, you can download this one. Okay. Otherwise, you can download any version of your interest till Nugget. So there is a version already downloaded for me, and that is called ES. You can simply hit on next, give the application, give the AVD a name. AVD stands for Android Virtual Device, and for that virtual device, you can give a name. Name that I want to give is Pavan. If you want to give it a different name, which is maybe your name, you can give it, or otherwise you can simply give it any other fancy name of your interest. Once it is selected, you need not to change any of the other configuration available. You simply have to hit on finish and then you will be creating a device like this. Okay. Pro tip for the users who are using emulators. Whenever you start up a emulator, you just go to these three dots and click on wipe data. Wiping off the data will save the disk space, which eventually reduces the loading time of this emulator and will help you to uh, maintain a seamless flow while you work with the application. Your application or your Android Studio will not bother you much if you follow these kind of options. And every time when you close the application, it is not that you should click on this button and hit on exit. This is a wrong way. Generally, what people do is they simply hit on this into button on the top right, and then click on exit. So which will not close this project. To leave this project open and close your Android Studio, which is not a good way, which is not an appropriate way. Just have to hit on file, hit on close project, then you'll get this welcome window. Only then you can close it. So next time if you open Android Studio, it will not bother you much. Okay. There are so many trolls happening on Android Studio, as someone said earlier, but these trolls are true for lower end devices, for the devices that are not having enough configuration. If you have enough configuration, Android Studio will not trouble you much. Like sometimes while it synchronizes the entire project, it may give you a few warnings and errors, and that is for our own good. Okay. So please take it seriously. Now, the next topic is we have discussed about how to connect a physical device, how to create a virtual device and run the applications directly on top of it. We have also seen how to create a project, right? So today we will understand what is the project structure, what are the important folders and files. We will also try to design a user interface screen, right? Today it is going to be a bit faster than yesterday and the day before yesterday. Hope you'll understand it. If you are not able to follow up with my speed, you can stop me anyway. You can stop me at any point and ask me to repeat whatever you did not understand. Or you can simply ask me to slow down. All right? Please, please take it seriously. Otherwise, what happens is you may think that other people are following and you are only not able to follow. And every other people will every other person will think in the same lines, which will not benefit anybody. Okay. So let's talk about the project structure of Android project. As soon as you create a project, we got this kind of a application, correct? But this is not the original project structure. So how would be the original project structure looks like? If you jump into the folder where you have batch 15 and score tracker, see, both of them are different. We have the Gradle idea app Gradle and then other Gradle files and settings, correct? But here it is categorized in a different way, right? If you jump into app and then into SRC, you get to see main, and inside this main we have got Java, resources, Android manifest. So Java, resources, and Android manifest. So why is that most of the files are not shown to you in the beginning? Because you are in the project view. So project view, if you select your project to project view, you will get the same structure as you see on the file system. Correct? You have dot Gradle, dot idea, dot app, Gradle, git ignore, and other settings. Correct? So whatever the important folders or files we have, Android Studio will keep all those files and folders in Android view. There are other views as well, but we mostly use project view and Android view. In Android view, you will only see the important folders and files as soon as you create a project. So the three important folders of an app are Java, manifest, and resources. Why would we use manifest? How will we use Java? And how will we use resources? We will discuss it now. Is it clear so far, guys? Any doubts so far? Any questions to me? All right, I take it as a no. Silence means no. I take it as a no. Right. So if you see this manifest file, okay, in this manifest folder, you got Android manifest.xml. And this is the file which holds the entire configuration of your application. So configuration means what? How many activities does it have? Activities means the screens. Screens. Okay. How many screens does your application will have? All those screens will be registered here. There is only one activity registered so far. If you have 10 activities, you will have 10 different activity tags inside this application tag. In the similar way, it will also tell the system about how many receivers are there, how many providers are there, how many services are running. Not only that, it will also have the permissions that we require for this application. Let us say this application wants to access camera. You need to give camera permission. If this application wants to access location, it has to take location permission. If it has to use internet, it has to take internet permission. So all these permissions will also be listed in the manifest file. That is the very reason when you install an application, the first file that interacts with the operating system is manifest.xml. Because manifest um, tells everything about the application. What permissions are needed, how many activities are running, how many services are running, how many broadcast receivers are being registered and used, how many providers are also being used. All this information will be given to the system. System in the sense Android operating system, the mobile device operating system, I'm telling you. So manifest is very, very important. Now coming to the resources folder, we will come back to Java later. We'll come to resources folder. In the resources folder, we have got drawable, layout, mipmap, values, and XML. Right? So what do we have in drawable folder? We have got images in the drawable folder. Right? So if you want to use static images in the application, okay, you don't want to load it from internet, but you want to use it statically in the application itself. Then you can go with drawable folder. You can paste any image that you want to be that you want it to be shown on the application into the drawable folder. Okay. So you can see that there is some XML coding. There is some XML coding here, right? So this XML code can also create images like this and images like this. Right. After that drawable folder, you have got layout. So layout is for actually designing how you want to display the user interface. Okay. You to design the UI, you have got layout files. If you have one screen in your application, you will have only one XML file. If you have like 10 screens, you will be defining 10 different files in the layout folder. You can design the user interface either by drags and drops. Let us say if I want to create a button, I can simply drag and drop this button and the button would be created for me. Otherwise, you can also jump into the split mode and write code that actually creates a view for you. Or otherwise, you can simply code. And then after coding is completed, you can go to design and see how you got the design. There are several other components involved. We'll discuss about it, right? You can create a UI either by writing the XML code or by dragging and dropping in the actual widgets. Next comes is MIPMAP. MIPMAP holds all your launcher icons. Launcher icon is nothing but the icon that you would get when this app is installed. That is your launcher icon. So when when you tap on that icon, you would open this application, right? Next comes is the values folder. In the values folder, you have got colors.xml, strings.xml, and themes.xml. Whatever the colors that you would be using in the project, all of the colors should be configured here. Because if you want to change a single color on, let us say, 10 different screens, you need not to go to 10 different screens. You can just modify that color in this file and that gets reflected to all the 10 screens that we have. Similar is the case with strings. Whatever the strings that you use across the project, whatever the strings that you use across the project, all of them must be registered here. So that if you want to change a single string on 10 different screens, you need not to visit 10 different screens. You can simply modify it in strings.xml. Not only that, strings.xml will also facilitate another usage, and that is making your app local. I mean to say, making your app available in multiple languages. If you want to make your app available in multiple languages, you can create copies of strings.xml and only modify the values without modifying the IDs, which benefit you to switch between the languages in an easy way. Next comes is themes.xml. So these themes.xml has two files, themes.xml for day mode and themes.xml for night mode. So what is the styling that you want to follow for day mode is given here, and what is the styling that you would follow for night mode is given here. If you want to customize anything among these things, you can do it. Finally, it is XML, which has some backup rules. Okay, this is for data binding. So we will not talk about this. However, there is an XML folder here. Right. Now comes the Java folder. In the Java folder, you must be having three different folders. The last two are for testing purposes. All right. You can perform an espresso test or you can write unit test cases inside these two folders. Whereas the first folder includes all the Java that are necessary for your project. They can be activity files, they can be fragment files, they can be files that has the code for services, they can be files that has code for broadcast receivers, content providers, and etc. You can simply also have Pojo classes inside this package. Pojo stands for plain old Java object, right? That's how we have it. Okay. So I think everyone is clear with this project structure, I hope. If you want me to repeat, I'm ready to repeat. I'll give you a simple understanding about how these files are working together. Otherwise, if you're comfortable enough, we'll proceed further. We will create our first UI screen today. Okay. So in the manifest file, we'll have the configuration information about the application. Okay. How many activities are using, how many activities have been used, how many services are there, how many broadcast receivers are registered, and how many content providers are available. Everything will be defined by manifest file. That is the first file which interacts with the operating system. Next comes is the resources folder, inside which we have drawable folder where we will have all the images for the project which are used in the project. We'll have all those images. In the layout folder, we define how the user interfaces for each different screen that you would like to display. In the bitmap, we have icons. We can customize it. We'll see how to customize these icons a bit later. However, in the values folder, you have got again three XML files: colors.xml, strings.xml. Colors.xml is used to hold the colors inside the XML file. Okay. Strings.xml will be used to hold all the strings that are related to our project. And themes.xml will help you to modify the theme of your project or theme of your application based on the need. All right. Next comes is the Java folder where we'll have the last two packages are for testing purposes, and the first package is for storing all the necessary Java files of our project inside this. And now we have Gradle scripts. We will talk about Gradle scripts later. So this is the overall project structure. Yeah, sure, Banti Rathod. Anyway, you'll understand, and if you simply get a basic understanding of this explanation, slowly when we work with the projects, you will also be working along with me. So you will definitely get an idea over this very easily. However, if you do not understand, you can simply ask me. I'll definitely re-explain these things to you again. Okay. Shrinu is asking, what is the course fee? You must be getting the course fee in the email. Otherwise, you can please ping admin on this. Thanks, Shrinu, for asking. Right. So let us proceed. Let us proceed forward. Let us see how to write XML code for for the design that you want to make. How do you make up your own design? Okay. So in order to make up your own design, we are supposed to jump into view system library. We have to make use of view system library. So in the view system library, we have something called view. Okay, let me explain that in more detail. Right. So what is a view? We have official documentation for view. Let us see about it. Let us see that, and then we'll come back here. What is a view in Android? So a view represents the basic building block for UI components. Okay. So let's not complicate this. Let us make it simple to understand. Let's say you have an activity. What is an activity? First of all, let us talk about an activity. My pen tablet is not working. No. Okay. Okay. Let's say, so first of all, let us talk about an activity. So what is an activity? A screen in your application. A screen in your app is called as an activity. What is a view? A basic building block for user, basic building block for UI. Okay. For example, button is a view, text field is a view, label is a view, radio button is a view, checkbox is a view, and so on. Okay. So the next definition is view group. So based on this, I will ask you questions, guys. Okay. Let's see who can understand it easily. So what is a view group? It is also a view that can hold other views inside of it. Is my writing understood? I mean, are you able to understand my writing, or do you need some kind of a typing? Because this is all available in the notes. I don't want to full of typing. It is easy to write. Okay. What are the examples? You have linear layout. Inside the linear layout, we can place other views inside of it. We have got constraint layout. We have got frame layout, grid layout, many things. Also, we have scroll view, recycler view, etc. and so on. So a view cannot accommodate another view inside of it, but a view group can accommodate other view groups and views inside of it. So what is the hierarchy of your UI? So I can write UI hierarchy. Let us say we have a view group. Inside this view group, you can have another view group. If you want to have another view group, you can have it. You can have some views. If you want to have some views, you can also have those views inside of it. And inside this view group, it can follow the same hierarchy. You can either have another view group and some views for your need. And this view group can also have different views of that is up to you. So this is the hierarchy. The hierarchy keeps on going. So we consider only the first part as the official hierarchy diagram. The view group can accommodate other views in other view group and views inside of it. That is the whole point. Okay. Is it clear so far? If it is, I'll re-explain the things further. If it is clear to you, you don't need to take an effort to type yes in the chat. You can simply raise your hand if you understand this. If you understand like the definitions, the diagrams, whatever I did. Ishika, Yazan, Akanksha, understood this? Cool. Fantastic, guys. Okay. All right. So we'll talk further so that you can have a better understanding. Okay. Now I want to make up a design like this. So what is the target? The target design is this. So I want to design something like this. So first, I will have two buttons on the, sorry, one button on the top, and I will have one button at the bottom. And in between these two buttons, I would like to have a text view. And I want to display a number inside the text view in bold. Okay, let us say 0. So this button should say plus and this button should say minus. So this is the design I want to achieve. So let us label the parts of this UI. What is this? This is button, which is clickable. What is this one? This is also button. What is this? A label. In Android, this label is called text view. Okay. We don't call it label, but we call it text view in Android. Okay. So all these are views, isn't it? Because in a button, you cannot place another button, which will be weird. So this is a view. Inside the text view, you cannot place another text view. So the text view is also a view. Button. Inside this button, you cannot place another button. That is a view. And all these three views must be accommodated in a view group. Okay. So now what should be this view group? The view group that accommodates all these three buttons. Which view group has to be selected? There are multiple options for us. Kanksha says linear layout, absolutely fine. So actually, we have multiple options. Option A, linear layout of horizontal orientation. Option B, the same linear layout with vertical orientation. Option C, constraint layout. Option D, frame layout. Option E, none of the above. There are other layouts also available, but each one follows a particular syntax. So how does linear layout of horizontal orientation looks like? So in the linear layout of horizontal orientation, you can arrange views one next to the other from left to right. From left to right, you can arrange the views from here. This is option A, which is this one. Okay. If it is option B, the design looks like this. You can arrange the views one next to the other in the top-down fashion, like this. This is linear layout of vertical orientation. So now tell me which one of these two should be selected for getting a design like this. If it is your option A, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If it is your option B, give me a hand raise in the chat. Or you can simply type your message just like Akanksha did in the chat. Thank you, Akanksha, Ashish, Bunty, Ishika, Yasin. You are all right. You are all right. We should be choosing linear layout of vertical orientation as our view group. So what are the components involved here? So what components we should be using in the linear layout? So what is the diagram in the linear layout of vertical orientation? You have only three views, 1, 2, 3. Button, text view, and another button. So this is the hierarchy of our design now. Yasin is asking, what is the difference between linear layout and relative layout? Relative layout is of no use right now because relative layout is already replaced by constraint layout. We will talk about these layouts slowly one after the other. Okay. I will be covering up all the important layouts in this session for sure. Okay. And by the way, that is a very good question. So this is the hierarchy diagram of our design. We will only have linear layout view group. So this is view group. These are views, view, view, and view. Let us go ahead and design it. Okay. You can write XML coding easily. It is very easy to write XML coding. Okay. So there are two things to learn in XML coding. So in XML coding, XML code looks like HTML. First of all, what is XML? What does XML stand for? Markup language, right? So why is this introduced? This is introduced because to transport data in a structured way from client to server and server to client. But XML used to take a lot of space. That is why it is of no use right now. I mean, in the industry, now XML is not used. Instead of XML, people are using JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, which is quite easy to handle. That's why JSON is popular right now in the industry. Right. So how does XML code looks like? It looks like HTML. So in HTML, you have start tag like this. This is start tag. And you have end tag like this. This is end tag. This is start tag. And this is end tag. And whatever you want to write between them, you can write so. Okay. And in HTML, we also have self-closing tags. So how does the self-closing tags look like? Start tag, you'll write some properties and you will close them right away just by object at the end. So this is called self-closing tag. Okay, this is self-closing tag. Now, in XML, we used to have user-defined tags. But in Android SDK, we have some tags that are predefined. We have predefined XML tags. And we need to use these to make designs. Okay. Right. With that said, with that said, with that said, how would we know how to create a button? Simply go to Google, ask Google about button Android. If you type button Android, you will get button official documentation. In the button's official documentation, it can be seen that button is the direct subclass of text view, which is the direct subclass of view and which is a direct subclass of object. Ashish is asking, can you show what you written for XML? Here what I have written in XML, that's what you want. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. So it will also have tags. Generally, we used to have user-defined tags in XML. Okay. But in Android SDK, we have got predefined tags for XML, which help us to create beautiful UIs. So how to create these things for learning how to create these things, we just jump into the official documentation and see how they are written. So if this simple tag can be used to create a button. So button has to be used here, and it is a self-closing tag in this case, because this is a simple view. This is not a view group. Okay. Now we understood how to write the button code. In the similar way, how do we write linear layout code? You can search for it, linear layout in Android. You'll get the developer documentation. So linear layout is a view group that aligns all children in single direction, either vertically or horizontally. You can specify the layout direction as per your interest or as per your requirement. So what is this structure? Is this linear layout of horizontal orientation or linear layout of vertical orientation? Can someone answer this question? Great. Ashish said a right answer. Let's see how many other people can. Akansha said right answer. So this is linear layout of horizontal orientation. Correct. So for this linear layout, this is how we have to have the code. This is the start tag and this is the end tag. We have start tag and end tag for linear layout because linear layout is a view group. Edit text is a view, that is why it is self-closing. Button is a view, that is why it is self-closing. Right? So very simply you can understand what is a view group and what is a view. You can simply understand by looking at the way it is written. If it is written in self-closing manner, it is called a view. And when it is having start tag and an end tag, it is a view group. Right. So this one is important. You just have to understand this. Now here, how do I write our code? How do we write our code? Let us remove hello world because hello world is displayed right now in the text view. I don't want, I'm removing it. Now, can someone answer this question? What is the layout that we are using right now here? Are we using linear layout? Are we using constraint layout? Or are we using any other layout? Yasin, Anil said the right answer. Hemant and Ashish tried. Akanksha said the right answer. So the layout that we are about to use is what is said by Hemant and Ashish. It is linear layout. But as of now, currently the layout is in constraint layout. Cool. So if you want to change this to linear layout, all we need to do is you have to place this XMLNS namespace. What does XMLNS stand for? XML namespace. Full form of XMLNS is what? What is the full form of XMLNS? XML namespace. Okay, that is the full form of XMLNS. Why do we have these XMLNS? So in the Android SDK, there are a few properties defined, and those properties you are getting it from this link into this Android tag. So those properties are layout width, layout height. In the similar way, tools also have got some properties in the SDK, and that is defined as a namespace. You can use tools.context. This is one example. Okay. You can change this variable anytime you want it. Let us say TYU. I want to call it TYU. So I should be using TYU instead of Android here. I think you understood it right now. If not, don't worry. I'll surely make sure that you learn it in day or two, in 1 day or 2 days. Let us remove this constraint layout as we want to change it to linear layout. As we remove this start tags constraint layout, the entire constraint layout is also been removed. Now type capital L and capital L. You need not to type linear layout. You need not to take much trouble because Android Studio is an IDEA, Integrated Development Environment. I don't know the full form of A again. It is called IDEA, Android Studio IDEA. It is intelligent enough to give you suggestions. And among these suggestions, which one would we choose? We choose the second suggestion, which says linear layout. That's it. You need not to type linear layout. All we need to do is type capital L and again a capital L. That gives you linear layout. Choose it. You're done. Let us understand the layout width and layout height properties. It is saying match parent, which means whatever the space that is available across the width of the screen, all that space my layout wants to occupy. In the similar way, that's what I'm explaining. Widget linear layout. Okay, so that is a different thing, Akansha. We need linear layout for the layouts to be designed. Okay. So layout height, what does it mean? Whatever the space that we have across the height of the screen, how much of it you want to occupy? I said match parent, which means the entire height, whichever is available across the height of the screen, all of that I want to occupy. If you want, you can define some size like 230 dp. So that your linear layout will only be occupying 230 dp of the entire height, whichever is available. But if you make it to match parent, control space, you get match parent suggestion, choose it. Your layout will occupy the entire height whatever is available. Okay. Now let's create a button. How do you create a button? Open the tag, type capital B, wait for suggestions. You get a button, choose it. As soon as you choose button from the suggestions, you will be asked to set the layout width. If I say wrap content, the button will only occupy the space it needs across the width of the screen. It will not occupy the entire width of the screen. Similar is the case with for height. Now this button is only occupying the space it needs across the width of the screen and the space it needs across the height of the screen, but not the entire space. However, if button to occupy the entire width of the screen and entire height of the screen, you should make the layout width to match parent and layout height also to match parent. That gives the button the whole screen to occupy. But this is not the right way of doing it. Button should not be this much heavy. So let us reduce the height to wrap content so that you will have the button that occupies the entire width of the screen, but only the height it needs across the width height of the screen. Now, how do we display text on this button? You type T, wait for suggestions, you get Android colon text you selected, and give any name of your interest. I would like to give plus as my name. So this is how I can keep on going about my design. I can also have another button and a text view. So how do I create another button? Simply copy this button code, repaste it to have the second button coming up, and instead of plus, you say minus. Now you may wonder, why is that the second button is not coming up? Because the linear layout's orientation is not set. If you make the first button's uh, width to wrap content and second button's width to wrap content, you will understand that these two buttons are coming one next to the other from left to right, which is the linear layout of horizontal orientation. But we want what? Vertical orientation. If you want to change the orientation of your linear layout, all we need to do is jump into the linear layouts start tag and write O. Wait for suggestions. Don't do anything else. Just write O and wait for suggestions. Select Android orientation and select it as vertical. Now you have got two buttons created. Now you can change the width to match parent on the first button and match parent on the second button. Now these two buttons are occupying the fullest width of the screen. So the default orientation of linear layout is horizontal. Good observation, Ashish. I appreciate you for it. Good observation, by the way. Wrap content will be used to let the button occupy the width or height it needs across the width or height of the screen for linear layout, so for layout width or layout height respectively. Okay, cool. So try to do this design on your own by creating the project. We will complete the rest of the design tomorrow without fail. So tomorrow is Republic Day, but I don't think we have a holiday for it. So tomorrow we have a session at sharp 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, try to complete this design, the design code I have given to you in the chat. The rest of the design, we will complete it tomorrow. We will also understand some other important topics such as the difference between DP, display pixels, and SP, scalable pixels. We will understand how to of the screen to make it a more attractive design. And we will also talk about how do we get these components into action. So tomorrow is going to be really very important. I don't want any one of you miss out on it. Maza aa gaya. All right. Thanks, Ashish. So from tomorrow we will be going a bit faster. Uh, Yasin, we have already started the session. So demos will go on for another 3-4 days, I believe. But however, I don't consider these as demos anymore. We are been into the third day already. So I'm just going with my own pace. Yeah, I'm already going with my own pace. We have already started the course. All right. Thank you so much. Because I don't want to waste your time and my time. Sure, we'll talk about it, Bunty. We have tomorrow to talk about it. Definitely, Hemant. I will slow down the class for you. No problem at all. Thank you, Yasin, for your feedback. Good day, guys. Take care. Um, Tomorrow we'll meet at sharp 7 o'clock. Take care. Bye.